Squire! Fetch my Vorpal helmet!
Sir, I don't think that word means what you think it means.
Hey there, folks. This is the Vorpal Helmet channel, and in this episode in the series, we're going to take a look at some of the differences between Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition and the Dungeon Fantasy Roleplaying Game powered by GURPS. What we are going to do in this episode is look at the characters in D&D 5th edition using the 2024 core rules and examine how they differ from GURPS. So without further ado, let's do that, starting in alphabetical order by name. So first we have Carlotta Delmonico. She is a first level human paladin. Her ability scores are Strength 15, Dex 12, Constitution 14, Intelligence 8, Wisdom 12, and Charisma 14. As a human, she took the Skilled Origin feat, which gives her proficiency in 3 skills. What you will see here is that she has a number of proficiencies, namely Athletics, Intimidation, Investigation, Perception, Performance, Persuasion, Religion, and Stealth. And she also is proficient in a dice gaming set. Don't know how often that's going to come up, but she is proficient in that. Her background is Soldier. That gives her the Savage Attacker feat. If we look over, that's the equipment. If we look over here, we see the Savage Attacker Origin feat. That allows her to roll damage rolls with advantage once per turn. That's pretty good. As a first level paladin, she has the Lay on Hands ability, which has a pool of 5 hit points currently, and she can use that as a bonus action to either heal someone or remove the poisoned condition. She can cast 2 spells every long rest, and what she has memorized or prepared, as the case may be, is Divine Smite and Searing Smite. Divine Smite gives an extra 2d8 radiant damage from an attack, and it increases by 1d8 if the target is a fiend or undead. That's pretty amazing. And Searing Smite, which gives, after you hit a target, an extra 1d6 fire damage from the attack, and they continue to take 1d6 fire damage until they make a Constitution saving throw, or they continue to burn. Pretty great ability. In terms of her other features, she has Weapon Mastery. Weapon Mastery is a feature in Dungeons & Dragons 2024 rules that allow, as it says here, various mastery properties of 2 kinds of weapons of the individual's choice. Here she has Weapon Mastery in her flail, and she would get one other, but she's only carrying the 1 weapon right now. In terms of her equipment, she wears chainmail, which is heavy armor, and carries a shield. That's good enough to give her an AC of 18, which is actually quite good. Her flail's Weapon Mastery property is Sap, and that, if I recall correctly, means that if she hits a creature with this weapon, the creature has disadvantage on its next attack roll before the start of her next turn. That seems fun. Her movement speed is seemingly 30, because apparently in the 5e 2024 rules, there's actually no penalty to carrying a ton of stuff until you get to something like 10 times your strength, or something like that. That's weird. She's carrying, as we can see, almost 93 pounds of equipment, which is more than 5 times her strength. And so it looks like, if we look at this little, this little indication marker here, that she is at least encumbered. And I'm thinking, I don't know if it was the original 5e rules or maybe it was a variant, that she would have a move of 20, not 30. Actually, as I look back, that is what the 5e 2014 variant rules said. That wasn't even standard. What is standard now is that if you are using heavy armor and its strength rating exceeds your strength, then you lose 10 feet of movement speed. For her, with a strength of 15, and chainmail having a strength requirement of 13, she is fine. She still has a move of 30, no problem for her. Seems weird, but that's the way it is. Let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. If you played D&D using the 2014 rules, did you use the variant Encumbrance rules? Would you be in favor of it or against it? I don't think it breaks the game in either way, but maybe it adds a tiny bit more realism. If move is penalized by heavy armor, except all but the strongest adventurers, that's kind of the way that GURPS does it. So, yeah, let me know. All right, our next adventurer is Foxfire Dahast. She is our elven wizard. A high elf wizard, as the case may be. As a high elf, she has dark vision. See if we can find that here. I believe it's in the feature somewhere. Somewhere here. In any event, as a high elf, she does have dark vision 60 feet. She knows the Prestidigitation cantrip, which is a cantrip that allows her to do some cool things. And she has advantage on saving throws against the charmed condition, whether it's resisting or ending. Anyway, her various features here are her ability scores are Strength 8, Dex 12, Constitution 14, Intelligence 17, Wisdom 14, and Charisma 10. She has the Sage background, and that gives her, or gave her, the Magic Initiate feat. And that feat is pretty cool because it allows her to learn 2 additional cantrips, and it also allows her to cast 1 additional level 1 spell per long rest, basically. She always knows it, and she can cast it without using a spell slot once per long rest. So for her, that's going to be Shield. Her cantrips are quite varied. She has Acid Splash, Elementalism, which isn't an attacking type thing, but does some cool things here and there. Firebolt, which for our GURPS users is kind of like Fireball, the non-explosive kind. Prestidigitation, as we talked about. Ray of Frost, which has a nice secondary benefit that if you do hit, in addition to 1d8 cold damage, it also reduces the speed of your enemy by 10 feet until the start of your next turn. And Shocking Grasp, which is a melee type spell. Her first level spells include Alarm and Detect Magic. Both of those are ritual spells, so she doesn't have those prepared. And the other ones are Mage Armor, Magic Missile, and Thunder Wave, in addition to Shield, which she always has prepared. She has a variety of skills, Arcana, I don't know how you guys pronounce it. Let me know, but I always tend to Arcana because of arcane. History, Insight, Investigation, Perception, and once again, very important, she is proficient in Calligrapher's Supplies. Her AC, unfortunately, is only 11. So let's, similar to, well, not similar, but in GURPS, yeah, mages or wizards often do not wear heavy armor because they can't afford to in terms of their strength. It slows down their movement too much. But they have potentially some decent defenses. So the thing here that's a little bit different in D&D is that a monster or enemy rolls to attack against armor class. It's an 11. That is what it is. So she has no other defense rolls other than potentially, I think, Shield, if I recall correctly, can be used as a bonus action that gives a +5 to AC, or it's actually a reaction, not a bonus action. It's a reaction. So she can get +5 to her AC, and that is a use of a spell slot, and could be helpful. Kind of like I would describe that as similar to maybe the Iron Arm spell in GURPS or Dungeon Fantasy Roleplaying Game. A spell that you can use as a reaction to protect against an attack. So yeah, that's that. She has no armor, and she has 8 hit points. She is not a melee fighter, and she obviously needs to stay far away from combat if she can. But she does have some great spellcasting abilities, and in D&D, what is nice is that with these cantrips, she can cast those 1 per turn and fire them off 1 per turn. Unlike in GURPS, when it comes to missile spells, those are the types of spells that You have to cast and then fire the next turn. So, in some ways, more powerful than a DFRPG or GURPS wizard. In other ways, less powerful, because in terms of her first level spells, once she casts her first level spells, she's done. Basically, she can cast 2 per long rest, plus she can cast shield once per long rest, and it doesn't count against that 2. So, that's our wizard, Foxfire Dahast. Our next adventurer is Frank Newcastle, who is our fighter. If you recall in a prior episode, Frank Newcastle is a knight in GURPS Dungeon Fantasy Roleplaying Game, so that's the equivalent, basically, of a fighter. Frank is pretty strong, 17 strength. He has a 14 dex, 14 constitution, so his big ability scores are all of those physical ones. And in terms of the mental or social emotional ones, intelligence 8, wisdom 10, charisma 12. As a human, he picked the alert feat. If we go to his feats, that was his origin feat. Immediately after he rolls initiative, he can swap his initiative with the initiative of one willing ally in the same combat, unless the ally is incapacitated, or if he's incapacitated. But otherwise, he also has proficiency to initiative. When he rolls initiative, he can add his proficiency bonus to the roll. So, pretty helpful for a fighter. He also has the soldier background, so he has the savage attacker feat. We talked about that with Carlotta, so that is quite good. In terms of his weapon mastery as a fighter, he gets to have weapon mastery of 3 kinds of simple or martial weapons of his choice. So for him, that's going to be his 3 weapons: the longsword, hand axe, and club. The longsword has the sap property, which is good. The hand axe has the vex property, which is interesting. It gives him advantage on his next attack. And the club has the slow property, which reduces an enemy hit by it by 10 feet until the beginning of the clubber's next turn. As a fighter, he also has the second wind ability, which is a bonus action. And that allows him to regain hit points, again, as a bonus action, equal to 1d10 plus 1. It's his hit dice plus his fighter level. That's pretty great. He can do that, if I recall correctly, twice per long rest. Oh, yeah, it says right there, twice per long rest. And you can regain 1 expended use when you finish a short rest, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So he can use it once. After a short rest, he gets another 1 back, and then he's done. In terms of his fighting style, he took the defense fighting style, which allows him or gives him a +1 bonus to his armor class. That armor class, by the way, is 19, which is quite good. That is because he has in his inventory chainmail, heavy armor, and a shield. If you recall correctly, in GURPS, he has a large shield, which is clearly depicted here. They don't make those distinctions as far as I can recall in Dungeons & Dragons. The shield just gives a flat +2 bonus to armor class. He has 12 hit points. His movement is going to be 30, just like Carlotta. Because of his strength, he could even use plate mail without reducing his move. That seems a little weird to me, especially compared to GURPS Dungeon Fantasy, but that's the way that D&D does it. And, that's fun also. We're not going to say that there's one way, one true way, and one way is fun and one way is not. So here we have our 4th adventurer, who is Raj Luos. Raj Luos is a rogue. He is a human also. He took the skilled feat, which gives him some additional skills. And I think we see that. Where is that? I do like the tabs here. These are very nice. This is a pretty slick character sheet. I kind of wish the GURPS Game Aid, which is also super nice, really helpful, had a little bit more bells and whistles. That would be really cool. Or if it was just a little bit more, it's not to say that it's not customizable, but a little bit more customizable right out of the box without needing any programming background or anything like that. That would be cool, because this is pretty slick. But the tabbed sheet in GURPS Game Aid for Foundry is also quite good. I really like that. So going back to Raj here, let's go to his ability scores. Oh, first, let's talk about the features. Yes, so he has the Skilled Origin feat. That gives him proficiency in any combination of 3 skills or tools of his choice. So he has a lot of proficiencies, which we'll look at in a moment. In terms of his background, which is the criminal background, that gives him, in addition to various skill proficiencies, sleight of hand and stealth, it also gives him the alert feat. We talked about that already with Frank Newcastle. Did we talk about his ability scores? If we didn't, we will now. Strength 14, Dex 16, Constitution 14, Intelligence 13, Wisdom 10, Charisma 8. Not a smooth talker. In terms of his skills proficiencies, again, he's got a lot. Acrobatics, athletics, deception, insight, intimidation, investigation, perception, persuasion, sleight of hand, stealth, and thieves' tools. Now you see here stealth and thieves' tools have 2 rings around them. That denotes expertise. One of the features of rogues in D&D 5th edition is that they get, and this might have been true in 4th edition too, but I can't remember, they get expertise, and that gives them double their proficiency bonus on 2 skills. So for him, he took stealth and thieves' tools. All right. He's proficient in thieves' tools. That is important, actually. As a rogue, he gets, if I recall correctly, weapon mastery in 2 kinds of weapons. So for him, at the moment, he is using that in short sword and dagger. And you can see here, well, he's depicted as having 2 long knives, but short sword and dagger. So the short sword has the Vex property, which is good because both the short sword and the dagger have the light property, which means he can actually, if I recall correctly, he can immediately attack with the dagger because it has the nick property. So it sounds like to me a successful short sword attack then lets him attack with his dagger with advantage, and he can attack immediately with the dagger because it's got the light property, even though it's in his offhand. And that then, if he has advantage, allows him to impose sneak attack damage of 1d6, if he doesn't otherwise already have the ability to impose sneak attack. He does get it if he is attacking an enemy that's within 5 feet of an ally. Where do we have sneak attack? Right over here. Yeah. So he can deal an extra 1d6 to one creature he hits with an attack roll each turn if he has advantage on the roll and the attack uses a finesse or ranged weapon. Both the short sword and the dagger are finesse weapons. The extra damage is the same type, which I believe for both of those is probably piercing. Yeah, it is. And he doesn't need advantage on the attack roll if at least one of his allies is within 5 feet, doesn't have the incapacitated condition, and Raj doesn't have disadvantage on the attack roll. So, that's all good. He wears leather armor, if we go to his inventory, which is light armor, and you see what he has here. I mean, he's got a case with crossbow bolts. He's got the coin pouch. This pouch probably has, that's got nothing in it. Yeah, that's just got some coins, and his burglar's pack has a number of things, ball bearings, rope, various other things. And he has thieves' tools here. Oh, there they are, I think, right? No, that's the crossbow case. Thieves' tools are somewhere here. Oh, they're right there. Right. They probably would be in the burglar's pack, but I have them out there for whatever reason. We've got the nice favorites over here. That's actually pretty cool. I like that. And that's our rogue, Raj Luos. Oh, and also, I think I might have mentioned this, but for ranged attacks, he has a hand crossbow, which does 1d6 plus 3 piercing. Nice. Okay, that's our rogue, Raj Luos. All right, our dwarven cleric, Thulnar Dawnshield. There he is, our little squat friend. So he's our 5th adventurer. He's got his ability scores are going to be Strength 14, Dex 8, no, not very dexterous, Constitution 13, Intelligence 10, Wisdom 17, Charisma 13. Now, another contrast here, which is interesting between GURPS and our Dungeon Fantasy Roleplaying Game and D&D. So basically in GURPS, Dex is going to be the base for all of your melee and ranged attacks, right? The base of all of your skills. So if you're skilled in using Axe Mace, it's based upon Dex, whether, 1 point in it might be Dex -1 or Dex -2, whatever it is, I forget. You can put as many points as you have and want to put into weapon skills, and that increases your skill. In D&D, unless you're using a finesse weapon, and I think, or a ranged weapon, although there may be, I don't remember, there may be some ranged weapons that use strength, but I think thrown weapons. In any event, strength is going to be driving your attack roll. So a little bit different. So you can get away with, even as a melee fighter, you can get away with having a low dex, and that's exactly what he has here. For him, wisdom is far more important as a cleric. As a dwarf, he has dark vision up to 120 feet. Where is that? It's interesting. I guess we have to do it this way. Yeah, there you go. Because we couldn't find it for the elf before, but there it is. Dark vision, 120 feet. I think it doesn't put it in. Oh, there it is, under senses. Aha. I was looking under the features. But now that I have come to my senses, I see that it's in senses. Okay, resistance to poison, obviously, much like GURPS as well. In GURPS, or a Dungeon Fantasy Roleplaying Game, they don't have dark vision. They do have night vision, I think 5, maybe 6, I don't know, which negates a variety of penalties, but there needs to be some light present. Here, with Thulnar, he can see in the dark, period, the end. Does not need any light. So that's a difference there. He also has Dwarven Toughness, which gives him +1 hit point per level. That's nice also. So with his Constitution of +1, plus Dwarven Toughness, he has 10 hit points to start off with. Great. He also has Stonecoming that gives him Tremor Sense up to 60 feet for 10 minutes, which he can use as a bonus action. And I think he can use that once per long rest, perhaps. So that's one of those features that he has. Yeah. Oh, no, a number of times equal to his proficiency bonus. So you can do that twice. His proficiency bonus is 2, like all first-level dudes. He took the Acolyte background, which gives him the Magic Initiate feat. Where's that? Yeah, right there. And that gives him some additional cantrips, which is nice. And the Divine Order that he took, I guess all clerics take a Divine Order, as I recall. Yeah, that's right. So he took Protector, which gives him proficiency in martial weapons and training with heavy armor. Nice. So, yeah, that's a feature that he has. I just want to make sure. Do dwarves get that too? I don't think they do in general. No, they don't. For some reason, oh, maybe I'm thinking of the old D&D 4E where like they were proficient with wearing a certain type of armor and didn't reduce their movement speed or something. I don't know. Or maybe that's in GURPS. I don't frankly remember. No, in GURPS they just have lifting strength. So anyway, he carries a mace. He wears ringmail, heavy armor, with shield. He would wear chainmail, but he couldn't afford it. This shows him wearing heavy cloth, but that's okay. He's wearing ringmail and carries a shield. In terms of his, well, that gives him an AC of 16, so that's important. His dex does not impart a negative, apparently. Unlike, maybe old school D&D. I guess it would, perhaps if he was wearing light armor or no armor. I don't really know. But apparently, right now the net effect is he has low initiative because he's got -1 to his initiative. That's based on dex. His base movement speed, weirdly, to me, is 30 feet. Just like everyone else except for Goliaths and Wood Elves. That's another change from the 2014 rules to the 2024 rules. Certainly different from GURPS. They have -1 to movement speed in GURPS. So, for example, if the combination of their dex and health, which is what drives your basic move, if he had a 6 as a dwarf, it would be a 5. For reasons that are not clear to me, that is not the case. Even with these little stumpy legs, he can move just as far as everybody else. He would be able to use chainmail, by the way, based upon his strength, because as you recall, that has a strength requirement of 13, but couldn't afford it, so ringmail. Going to his skills, he has a variety of cantrips, or his spells rather, has a variety of cantrips, guidance, resistance, sacred flame, spare the dying, and thaumaturgy, or thaumaturgy, whatever, however you pronounce it. His first level spells It says 5 of 4 prepared. I think that's because, if I recall correctly, you get 2 that are always prepared for being like one of your Divine Order things or whatever. Maybe it's Magic Initiative thing as well. He's able to cast, I don't know what the basis is, whatever. But something tells me this is right, despite this looking weird to me. Anyway, Bless, Cure Wounds, Guiding Bolt, Healing Word, and Shield of Faith. Healing Word is basically like, I would say, like minor healing or even major healing, where you can cast it at range. Cure Wounds is requires you to touch the target, so that's more limited. But it also does a lot more healing, 2d8, plus his spellcasting ability modifier, which is +3. So that's pretty great. In earlier versions, I believe it was 1d8. I could be remembering that wrong, but that's what I seem to recall. Anyway, yeah, we went through basically all of his stuff. In terms of his skills, doesn't have a lot of actual skills. He's got Insight, Medicine, Persuasion and Religion, and Calligrapher's Supplies. And you see his favorites over here. Sacred Flame, always a nice spell. No roll, but the target has to make a dex saving throw or take 1d8 radiant damage. So that's cool. And then finally, our last Delver is Yesunge. Now, Yesunge... Why did I do this backwards? Just differently from the way I did it with the other ones. Yesunge, if you recall, in DFRPG or GURPS terms, he's a half-ogre novice scout. So, obviously, they don't have half-ogre, not that I've seen at least, in D&D. What's the closest thing? I'm going to say Goliath, right? Big, tall dudes, kind of like, not exactly half-giant or whatever, but similar. So, okay, great. We're going to do that. And we're going to make him a ranger, which is basically the equivalent of the scout. So as a Goliath, one of the features that he has is powerful build. That gives him advantage on any ability checks to end the grappled condition. Okay, that's fun. I don't know how often that's going to happen. But it also, I thought maybe in some way it increased his carrying capacity. Maybe not. I don't know. It might. Oh, yeah, you count as one size larger when determining your carrying capacity. Yeah, for him, carrying capacity is not really going to be like an issue. Yeah, he can carry up to 420 pounds before he's encumbered. So he's carrying 78 pounds and, no biggie. He also has giant ancestry. We're saying that his giant ancestry is hill giant. We could have taken any of them, but I kind of like that one. That gives him Hill's Tumble. When he hits a large or smaller creature with an attack roll and deals damage to it, he can give that target the prone condition. That's pretty cool. It also weirdly doesn't seem to be based upon melee attacks, but okay, that's fine. He can do that twice per long rest. He has the farmer background. Now, that wasn't available in the free version of the D&D system for Foundry, which uses the SRD, I think it's called System Reference Document Rules, 5.2. But I just so happen to have the player's handbook here, and I was able to just put it in. So, as a custom background, at least I think I did it right, but, so it gives him his ability scores, Strength, Constitution, and Wisdom. I think ability scores that he can increase. When you take a background, you can increase ability scores. If I recall correctly, you can put 3 points in. You can do +1 to each, or +2 to one and +1 to the other. You can't do +3. He has skill proficiencies automatically of animal handling and nature, and he's got proficiency in carpenter's tools. It also gives him, I don't know why it's shown here, but it also gives him the tough feat, which gives him 2 hit points per level. I don't know if I talked about his scores, but Strength 14, Dex 15. Wish that was a little bit higher, but just didn't work out. Constitution 14, Intelligence 8, Wisdom 14, and Charisma 10. So he's Intelligence 8, kind of like our buddy Yesunge in GURPS Dungeon Fantasy, not the smartest dude in the bunch. But he's got a lot of hit points, 14. That's pretty cool. He can use, as a ranger, interestingly enough, rangers have spellcasting, even at level 1, which is kind of different. But that's fine. He has favored enemy, so he always has the Hunter's Mark spell prepared. He can cast it twice without expending a spell slot. So he can do that twice, and I guess theoretically he could do that. I don't know, however many times. I guess he could do that 4 times because I think he can cast spells. Let me just take a look here. Spellcasting. So the ranger features... oh, maybe. Let me do it. Nope. Let's see if we can get it. Ranger features table. No. Gosh. That's fun. Oh, maybe I can do it from here. Okay. Ranger features table. Thank you. All right. So, yeah, he's got 2 spell slots per spell. Per spell level, right? At first level. So he can cast twice. So basically what that says is he can cast Hunter's Mark 4 times per long rest, right? Or he can cast Hunter's Mark twice, and he can either do Cure Wounds once, Entangle once, one of these things twice, whatever. So Cure Wounds is interesting, gives him a little bit extra healing for the party. Entangle, a fun spell. I always think of Druids when I think of Entangle, but Rangers have them as well. And Hunter's Mark, basically it marks one enemy as his quarry, and that deals an extra 1d6 force damage to the target whenever he hits it. Kind of interesting. And has advantage on any wisdom perception or wisdom survival roll if he's trying to find his quarry. And if the target drops to 0 hit points and then falls down before the spell ends, the spell lasts for an hour. It's a concentration spell. That's kind of interesting, but, it is what it is. So it lasts for an hour, but he can use it to mark a new creature that he can see within range. So we'll see how that plays out in the actual combats and whatnot. If I recall correctly, if it's concentration based. So if he takes damage, he needs to make a concentration saving throw. So for him, that's +2 because he couldn't get that concentration, or he couldn't get that as a bonus, whatever it is called. I forget now, but when you create your character, 2 of your ability scores have proficiency, so that you can see they have double to their saving throws. So Constitution only has a +2. It is what it is. His speed, unlike everybody else, is 35 feet because he's a Goliath and he's not carrying a lot. So that makes sense. Good. We like that. He has weapon mastery, and that should be for 2 weapons. Yeah. So he's going to do longbow and scimitar. That is what he actually has: a scimitar and a short sword and a longbow. So these things are relatively cheap, comparatively speaking. Like in GURPS terms, I mean, a longbow is, I don't know, I think it's $200 or 200 GURPS bucks, whatever you want to call it. Short sword is 400. Scimitar is roughly in the same range. I mean, that's $1,000 right there. That's basically all of a Delver's starting cash. But in D&D, these things are a lot cheaper. So yeah, he gets to have them all. He's got a druidic focus, which is, I don't know, some kind of a thing. Maybe it's an oak leaf. Oh, sprig of mistletoe. That's what it is. Very nice. So anyway, going back to weapon mastery. Sorry, he has weapon mastery in his longbow and his short sword. Longbow and his scimitar. Excuse me. So the scimitar has nick. So if he's fighting, and maybe he's using 2 weapons, for example. If he attacks with his short sword, his scimitar has nick, and he can attack automatically. If I recall correctly, that's the way that the nick property works. The longbow has slow. That's good. So if he shoots someone from far away, something, whatever, it will potentially slow them down. And what other important things? His AC is 14 because he is wearing studded leather armor, and he has a dex of 15. Yeah, too bad we couldn't get that to 16. That would be better. So, yeah, that's what we have with our buddy Yesunge here. So, those are our 5E. So those are our 5E adventurers. You can see the grid here is different. It's squares instead of hexes. So just like our GURPS Dungeon Fantasy Adventurers, they've been in the town of Hamlet, and they've heard of a ruined moat house where there might be some unsavory activity, and they have gone to check it out. They will approach the ruined moat house. All right, until next time, this is Vorpal Helmet.